a spin. My feet don't touch the ground. As long as you're near to me, my head goes round and round. My knees are shaking, baby. My heart, it beats like a drum. It feels like I'm in love. Oh, here we are then. We are back together again. Thank you for joining me. Here we go. You are not late. You are on time. Congratulations for that. Here we go again. Yes, it's another English Addict live from the birthplace of English, which just happens to be, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. It's England. Oh, hi everybody. This is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy? Are you happy today? I hope you are feeling good, wonderful, happy, fine and dandy. Oh, I like that one. It's very rare that you hear anyone nowadays say fine and dandy. How are you feeling? Are you feeling wonderful? Super duper? Are you in the pink? Are you feeling as fit as a fiddle? I hope so. I really do. My name is Duncan. For those who don't know who I am, perhaps you are flicking around the internet on a Sunday because you have nothing else to do, and suddenly you come across this strange thing staring at you, and you are thinking, yeah, what's that? What's that strange thing looking at me? Well, my name is Duncan. I talk about the English language. I've been doing this for quite a long time, actually. In October this year, I will celebrate my 15th anniversary. I can't believe it. 15 years I've been doing this on YouTube. Oh, by the way, July is just around the corner. We have July just over there. It's waiting on the horizon to appear and be here. In July, of course, we have another celebration. It will be the 5th anniversary, 5 years since I started doing this, my live streams. So this year we have 2 anniversaries, 15 years on YouTube and 5 years doing my live streams. So a lot of things happening in July and also October this year. I hope you will stay with me right up until that moment. I really hope so. Here we go then. Yes, we have made it all the way to the end of another week and also the end of another weekend. Do you know why? Do you know why that is the case? Well, I will tell you, because it is Sunday. We have a very interesting live stream. Very interesting. Lots of things coming up today. Some interesting things. I hope they will be interesting to you. I hope so. Anyway, we are talking about quite a few subjects today. We will try to get them all in. We will squeeze them in. We have also a little surprise as well. Mr. Steve and myself, we had a little surprise, a nice surprise in the garden last night whilst we were eating our lovely supper, which Mr. Steve made. Last night we had a visitor in the garden, something very unusual. I think it's safe to say that we've never had one of these particular things in the garden before, ever. So that coming up later on. Also, we are talking about words and phrases connected to being unique. I love that word, unique. Something that is unique, something that is special, just because it exists. And perhaps it is something that does not exist anywhere else. It is like finding a diamond or a snowflake. Did you know that every snowflake is unique? There are no snowflakes that look alike. You might even say that the fingerprints on the end of your fingers are also unique. Each fingerprint is completely different. No one on the planet has the same fingerprints. They don't. It's true. So we've made it to Sunday. I hope your week has been okay. It's a dull day here. You may have noticed behind me there is a live view of the countryside, and it's not very nice today. It's a little cool. It doesn't look like summer. And yesterday we had a lot of rain, and also the day before. In fact, 2 days ago we had so much rain it started to flood the back garden, which I couldn't actually believe. So we have had some very strange weather over the past couple of days. It doesn't feel like summer, if I was honest with you. So there it is, the view outside. What is the weather doing where you are? What is the weather doing? Is it sunny? Is it nice? Is it warm? It's pleasant outside, but it's very grey and murky. It does not feel like summer at all. Hello to the live chat. Oh, hello live chat. Nice to see you here. I suppose the big question I must ask is who was first on today's live chat? Oh, something different. Something unusual. Now I know this has happened before, but it's been a long time. Today we have a different first person on the live stream. I can't believe it. Congratulations to Mosen. Guess what, Mosen? You are first on today's live chat. You know what? That almost deserves a fancy pants. Okay, that's enough. We can't have too much fun. We've only just started. I will wear myself out. I will have no energy by the time we finish this live stream. Oh, by the way, we have Mr. Steve here as well. Steve will be here at around about 2:30. So around 20 minutes. And then Mr. Steve will be joining us today. Lots of things to talk about. I don't know if you've heard, but here in the UK, in our government, there have been some scandals. Oh, we've had a scandal over the past 2 or 3 days here in the UK. One of our top ministers has been caught doing something rather naughty, very naughty in fact. In fact, it is so naughty he has resigned, he's given up his job, he has quit his ministerial post. Maybe we will be talking about that later on. Sexual scandals. Oh, Mr. Duncan, I can't believe you just said that. Well, of course, we do have lots and lots of adults watching this live stream, maybe some younger people as well, but we will be talking about intrigue and scandal a little bit later on. I get the feeling that Mr. Steve wants to talk about it, to be honest. So that's the only reason why we are including it today, because Steve wants to talk about it. Also, what else are we doing today? We had another visitor to the garden as well. In fact, we've had 2 unusual visitors in the garden this week, but one of them very, very unusual, to say the least. We have the sentence game coming up. We also have... What else are we doing today? I'm sure we have something else to talk about. Oh, I know what it is. Do you ever feel lonely? Are you ever in a situation where you are alone? You might not believe it, but those 2 words appear to be the same, but actually they can be used in very different ways. So that's another thing we are talking about today. Loneliness. Apparently, during this crazy 12 months of lockdown that many people have been enduring and suffering, many people have been suffering from loneliness, being alone. So I suppose a good question today, I don't want to make this too depressing, so don't worry. Do you ever feel lonely? A lonely person is a person who feels the sensation of being isolated or by themselves, lonely. So quite often when we think about lonely or loneliness, we are thinking about the actual feeling, the emotion of loneliness. So what about you? I think, if you want to hear my opinion, you probably don't, but you're getting it anyway. My opinion is everyone from time to time feels lonely. I do. If Mr. Steve goes out, or maybe if I'm at home alone and everywhere is quiet, suddenly I feel the overwhelming emotion of loneliness. So I think it's quite normal to feel lonely. I don't think loneliness or feeling lonely is an unusual thing. However, because many people have had to stay apart and they've had to be isolated from each other because of coronavirus, which is still going on and on and on. So what about you? Do you ever feel lonely? Do you ever feel in a situation where you wish you had someone nearby? You wish you had a person near to you, which would be very nice indeed. Talking of the live chat, by the way, I forgot to mention we have some other people watching today as well. Hello to Tomek. Hello, Tomek. Nice to see you here as well. Beatrice is here. Also, we have, hello, Vitas. I'm sorry, today your finger was not fast enough. Mosen was first today. So maybe next week. Maybe you will be first on the live chat next week. We will have to wait and see. Willian is here. Hello also to Wafay. Valentin, nice to see you back also. We have, of course, Luis Mendez is here today. Nice to see you back, Luis, as well. Also, Vittoria, Olga. Hello, Olga. Nice to see you joining us today on this live stream. As we come towards the end of June, it's been an interesting month. Some people have been celebrating Pride this month. I have to be honest with you, I did something rather naughty because I have some Christmas lights on the front of my house. During June, I've actually been turning on my Christmas lights on the front of the house. I'm not sure if my neighbours appreciate it or not. I'm not actually sure. Gennaro is here. Nice to see you back as well. Hello, Zoe. Zoe. I used to know a girl at school called Zoe. It's a nice name, actually. Zudzika is here. Also, we have... can I say hello to Palmyra? Nice to see you here today. Did you see what I did there? Also, we have... okay then. Yadwinder. Hello, Yadwinder. I hope I pronounced your name right. Hello also to Hafiz. Hafiz. Did I pronounce your name right? I hope I did. If I didn't, please forgive me. So what about you? Do you ever feel lonely? Alessandra says, everybody feels lonely every now and again. Yes, if something happens every now and again, it means it happens occasionally. Every now and again. Every now and again, I like to go for a walk. Every now and again, I feel lonely. Every now and again, I get the urge to go for a run or to eat lots and lots of chocolate. Hello, Lucas. Nice to see you here as well. Marcia. Hello, Marcia. Yes, sometimes I feel lonely, but not so much. So I think we all have moments where we feel alone, lonely, but actually, as we will be finding out later, the word alone and also the word lonely have different meanings. They can be used in very different ways. Oh, by the way, Mr. Steve was in the garden yesterday. Would you like to see what Steve was doing yesterday? Because the weather was not too bad yesterday, Steve decided to go into the garden to do a little bit of work. Would you like to have a look at Mr. Steve working hard and sweating with his toil yesterday afternoon? I don't mind, who knows? Mr. Steve is a hard worker. What about you, Mr. Duncan? Are you a hard worker? Do you enjoy doing the gardening? Well, I will be honest with you, the answer to that is no. No, I don't really enjoy doing the gardening, if I was honest. I'm not a gardener. But Mr. Steve was busy outside yesterday, cutting back, trimming, pruning his big bush. There's no answer to that, really, is there? Yes, Mr. Steve will be here in around about 10 minutes, and I hope you will stay with us today. We have lots of things coming your way. Oh, by the way, also, starting today, for those sports fans, a certain sport is being played today down in London. And I always feel as if when this thing starts, I always feel as if the year is coming to an end. I always feel as if the year is drifting away. It is disappearing. What am I talking about? Well, of course we are talking about the game that lots of people enjoy playing from time to time. It is, of course, tennis. Yes, Wimbledon, opening day of Wimbledon, and for the next 2 weeks there will be tennis being played down in London. Yes, of course we are talking about Wimbledon. I always feel as if the year has ended when Wimbledon comes along, because after that ends, it always feels like the year goes by very quickly. Of course, we still have lots of sport to come later this year. We have football at the moment as well, and starting soon, the Olympic Games in, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The Olympic Games will also be beginning. Well, as far as we know, they will be beginning in Japan. So what about you? Do you ever feel lonely? Do you find yourself wanting some company? Do you ever find yourself feeling alone? There have been many songs written about this particular feeling. Only the lonely. Oh, wait there. Shall I have some echo? Only the lonely can feel the way I do. Only the lonely. Roy Orbison. Brilliant song, actually. So, a lot of songs about feeling lonely. Can you think of any songs to do with being lonely or alone? There was a great song by a group called Heart called Alone, way back in the 1980s. Who remembers that one? How do I get you alone? How do I get you alone? Of course, if you get someone alone, it means you get them in a place where you can talk to them or to be with them. For example, Matt Hancock was trying to get someone alone. Unfortunately, what he didn't realise is there was a camera filming everything he was doing, and now he no longer has a job. We might be talking about that later on, because Mr. Steve is very eager to talk about scandal. Have you ever been involved in a scandal? Find out a little bit later on. Words connected to loneliness. Well, of course, when we talk about feeling alone and being lonely, quite often these are very different things. So we think of alone as being by yourself. But also you might say that being lonely can also be the same feeling. So if you are alone, quite often we use this as an adjective, and it means to have no other person present. You have no one else around. There is no one else nearby. You are alone. There is no one else nearby. So you can see that that can describe a situation where you don't feel sad, but you are alone. To be alone is to be by yourself. If you are by yourself, it means you have no one else with you. You are alone. You are by yourself. You are on your own. So a person who is doing something by themselves, maybe they are sitting at home and no one else is in the house. You can say that you are alone. A single person is alone. So when we talk about a person who is unattached, we can say that they are alone. Maybe a person who feels lonely because they are alone. So you can see that we can use those two words very differently. To do something without help. This is interesting. So something you are doing, something you are carrying out, a thing you are doing, a certain task, for example. You are doing it alone. To do something without any help. It is done alone. You do it by yourself. Here's another one. To do something unaided or independent. So again, these two words appear to be different, but they can be used in a similar way. You do something without any help. You do it unaided. You are a person who does it independently. So an independent person quite often is a person who does things in their life. Maybe they run a company on their own. So they do it alone. They do it unaided. They do it as an independent person. And I remember years ago, there was a very big trend with people being independent, especially when it comes to women, females, to be independent, to not need anyone else. And by that I mean a man. So independent women, women who decided to stand up for themselves and be independent. So not to rely on anyone else. Maybe something you are doing can be done alone. You do it alone. Maybe we can describe a lone act. So in this situation, the word lone just means on your own. You are doing it without any help. A lone act. So any act or action can be described as being lone. For example, maybe a person who shoots people in public, maybe a gunman. We might describe them as working on their own. They are a lone gunman, or of course gunwoman, because we have to be equal nowadays, you see. Here's another one. To live in isolation can also be alone. To be alone, to live in isolation, you have no one else around. You live in isolation, far from other people. You live alone. Or maybe you live in a place that is nowhere near anyone else, such as the countryside. Maybe you live in a rural area. You live alone. Your house has no other houses nearby. You are living alone, or your house sits alone as well. To do something alone, you do it solo, you do it singly. Something that only comes with one thing. You can say that it is solo, it is singly. It doesn't sound like a real word. I know what you're saying. It doesn't sound like a real word, but this word is real. Singly. Something you do on your own. You can say that you do it solo. Maybe you decide to fly a plane around the world by yourself. We can call it a solo flight. You are flying alone. You are doing it by yourself without any help. To carry out a task individually is something you are doing alone. Again, you have no help. You are doing it by yourself. To go somewhere unaccompanied. You might go for a walk on your own. You go somewhere without anyone else being with you. You go unaccompanied. That's a great word, by the way. Unaccompanied. Unaccompanied. You are with no one else. No one else is with you. You are going somewhere alone, unaccompanied. To be alone can be a personal choice. Well, that is true. You can be alone by choice. Some people prefer to be by themselves. Some people like the solitude of being by themselves. So there are people who love to be in social situations, surrounded by lots of people, and there are other people who prefer their own company. They like to sit on their own. They like to be alone. So you can choose to be alone. It is possible. To be isolated and lonely. So if a person appears to be alone, we might also assume that they are feeling lonely. So to be isolated and lonely can also be described as being alone. But it doesn't necessarily mean you are feeling unhappy. To be alone is not necessarily a sad thing. People like to be by themselves. I must admit, sometimes I like to sit alone and think of the world, think of things, think of the meaning of life, and all of those weird things that can pop into your head from time to time. Talking of weird things, coming up in a few moments, we have Mr. Steve. Yes, Steve will be with us in a few moments. He is just preparing himself. He is making himself look beautiful in the mirror upstairs in the bathroom. I don't know how much time we have, Mr. Steve, but you better get a move on because we have an excerpt from a full English lesson coming now, and then after this it is Mr. Steve live in the studio. Hi everybody, and I mean everybody, and welcome to another full English lesson. I have so many things to show you today, we have no time to do the introduction. You might say that I'm pressed for time, I'm working against the clock, I'm on a tight schedule, I don't have much time. So without any more hanging about, let's get on with today's full English lesson, which will start around about now. What is the hardest part of learning English? Is it the learning of new words? Maybe the grammar used in English is what leaves you the most confused. Perhaps you feel too shy to use English in front of other people. Learning anything new can be quite daunting. You might feel intimidated by all the new words, all of the grammar rules, and even after you have mastered those, then you have to use the language with other people. I think it would be fair to say that speaking a new language for the first time might make you feel nervous. But there is no need to fear, as this is completely normal. If you want to improve your spoken English, then why not practice doing it by yourself? Speaking in front of other people can be very scary. So first of all, you need to get used to the idea of doing it. It may seem like a strange thing to do, but practicing in front of a mirror is a great way to build some of that initial confidence. Get used to your own mannerisms and ways of showing what you are saying. Facial expressions and body language are just as important as the words you are saying. Conversation relies as much on eye contact and body movement as the things being said. If you happen to have one of these wonderful devices, or one of these wonderful devices, then you are well on your way to improving your vocal technique. Using a recording device can help you to get accustomed or used to the sound of your own voice. It might feel a little strange hearing yourself at first, but after a while you will begin to enjoy it and your confidence will slowly build. I suggest you start off with some simple words and sentences, and as you listen to the sound of your own voice, you will be able to hear where there may be some problems. One common problem which can arise concerns the speed of your speech. There is no need to rush what you are saying. Give the listener a chance to hear your words. Of course, you must also speak clearly, so don't rush and don't mumble. Once you feel confident enough, you can move on to speaking with other people. Get a few of your friends together, or members of your family, or even your classmates to listen. This will allow you to get used to speaking in front of other people, and over time, your confidence will grow. If you have no one to practice with, why not join an English language group? If there isn't one, why not create your own? It's time to take a look at another buzzword. A buzzword is a word or phrase that is popular during a certain period, or is often used generally. Today's buzzword is publicity stunt. The phrase publicity stunt refers to an action carried out to gain attention whilst creating public reaction. To perform an action or say something for the sole purpose of creating attention, which in turn creates publicity for those responsible, is a publicity stunt. The attention sought can be either good or bad. Even bad publicity can generate business. An outrageous comment or an action that provokes criticism might in fact be nothing more than a publicity stunt. Of course, not all attempts for attention are bad. A promotion for a new movie or a message posted on a billboard that creates confusion or intrigue might also be just some very clever publicity stunt. The main purpose of a publicity stunt is to gain as much attention as possible, in as many ways as possible. The word publicity describes the action of promoting a product or an event for commercial gain. The word stunt shows that the thing gaining the attention was planned and choreographed for the purpose of publicity. That went by very quickly, I have to say. If you want to catch any more of my English lessons, they are all available on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to my YouTube channel, click on videos, or of course you can find the playlists that are situated underneath this video that you're watching right now.
Hello!
It's Mr. Steve.
C'est moi. Hello, Mr. Duncan.
We were just commenting on you being upstairs, making yourself look beautiful, and Tomek said that is mission impossible. It is impossible for Mr. Steve to make himself look beautiful.
You mean I'm already beautiful enough, is what he meant.
Maybe
it's
that...
impossible to make any further improvements.
Yes. Oh, yes. So that could be an insult, but it could also be a compliment.
It could be, yes. Impossible to make any further improvements, which of course I would agree with.
Yes, very interesting.
On the other hand, when it comes to Mr. Duncan...
I don't know what's going on. As you can see, my face once again has something very strange keeps happening to my face. Oh, yes. I don't know why. I've got all sorts of strange red marks. Now can I just assure you that Mr. Steve has not been beating me up. These do look like bruises from being punched, but they're not. It's actually my skin. My skin has become very sensitive.
Since you had that beard,
yes,
and were applying that dye.
Yes, I was colouring my beard, and I think the colouring has actually damaged my skin.
I think it has. And do you use moisturiser, Mr. Duncan?
I did put some on. Just before I came on today, I put a little bit of moisturiser just to ease the soreness, but I don't know why. But it doesn't look very nice on camera, so don't worry, there is nothing seriously wrong with me. This is just a little bit of sensitivity. I do have sensitive skin anyway. For many years, when I was a teenager, my skin was always doing strange things on my face and also on my body. I always got spots and strange things.
Teenagers get spots, Mr. Duncan. I mean, I still get them. Obviously.
Obviously.
I'm trying to insinuate that my metabolism is still like that of a teenager.
Yes. Can I just say, we've had some very strange moments of time over the past 2 or 3 weeks concerning animals.
True.
Tell everyone what happened a couple of weeks ago when we were watching TV. We were sitting watching television, and then something very unusual, very strange happened.
Oh, yes. You mean when the bat
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember. You're asking me to remember something that happened 3 weeks
Okay.
ago.
I was hoping to build up to it, but yeah, we had a bat in the house.
We did.
We were watching
yes.
TV, and then suddenly Steve said, "What was that?" And we looked, and there was a bat in the house flying around at about 100 miles an hour, but it was inside. I've never had a bat in the house ever.
It was a bat out of hell.
It was going crazy.
Which is a phrase, isn't it, that people use? In fact, isn't it from Meatloaf, the singer? Didn't he have an album called Bat Out of Hell?
Yes, well, it was a song.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyone of a certain age
A great
will remember.
A great Jim Steinman song. Yes, brilliant. But like a bat out of hell, let me go like a bat out of hell.
Very difficult to sing that song.
Anyway,
Well, it came in through because Mr. Duncan's studio leads into our living room.
okay.
And
If anyone's thinking of breaking into the house, there we go. There is part of the floor plan of our house.
Mr. Duncan had left the window open because it was hot. It was a hot, humid night.
Okay.
And all the lights were off in the living room, apart from the television. Not because there was any romance going on, just the lights were very dim. And this bat must have flown in and thought, oh, lovely, I'll have a flutter around. Maybe I can hang somewhere and build a nest.
Can hang from one of my tripods.
Probably thought it was like the inside of a shed or somewhere like that. Or a barn.
Yes.
Anyway, as soon as we switched the lights on, it went straight out of the window.
Yes.
But it was they're bigger than you think. I mean, its wingspan must have been about like that.
Well,
I was quite surprised.
It's strange. It was just a strange feeling. There are certain things that you don't expect to see in your house. And I think a bat is definitely one of them. You don't expect to see a bat flying around your living room.
No, it wasn't Batman.
It was not Batman
Says Tomek.
or Robin.
No, that could have been a very different evening.
Yes.
Altogether. But no, we've had another animal incident.
Well, we're going to look
recently.
at that. We're going to look at that because last Wednesday we've had so many animal incidents.
Animals seem to be getting closer and closer to us. It's like the, we've created this sort of home, this sort of area where in the countryside. I mean, the countryside is wild, isn't it? But we've sort of got our own sort of garden and house, which effectively is in the middle of the countryside where we live. There's, 100 houses around us at least.
Okay.
But it's sort of, the countryside is all around us. So it's always trying to invade from all directions. We've had all sorts of things.
Don't say anything.
All right, I won't say anything. Well, people know about the rabbit.
Yes, we know about the rabbit. Don't say anything else.
I won't say anything else.
That's it. Put a full stop at the end of that sentence and let me just explain something. Yes, we've sort of created our own ecosystem around here with all of the animals. And also last Wednesday, we had a little visitor as well. A little baby robin came to the window and it was watching me on Wednesday when I was doing my live stream. And I managed to take a photograph of the little robin before it flew off. So there it is. But we had another animal which you didn't see, Steve.
No,
you didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
is this news to me?
Yes, it is. So here is another animal that we also had joining us during the week. Look, isn't that beautiful?
Oh.
Now, there is something you don't see very often. I don't know why it was so relaxed, but this is a bird that is normally very timid and shy. So this is a pheasant. This is a female pheasant. And she decided to come into the garden during the week, sit on the fence, and if you notice, she is actually standing on one leg.
Oh, yes.
So she's cleaning herself. She is pruning her feathers, and she is standing on one leg, which I think is rather unusual. So there is another animal that came nearby to the house. Isn't that beautiful? It isn't very often you get a chance to film a female pheasant, because normally they are very shy, very timid.
They are. They're not normally, they normally slink in and out. If you slink, it means you're sort of carefully, cautiously coming into somewhere.
I like the way Steve's doing the actions.
Well, it helps me to explain it, even though I know no one can see.
Look, it's having a little sleep. Look, it keeps going to sleep.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that lovely?
It's very brave.
So there is the female pheasant that was in the garden last week. Mr. Steve didn't see that. However, last night we had a really big surprise because we had the most unusual visitor ever in our garden.
Well,
I think it was unusual.
It was unusual for it to come into our garden.
Yeah,
the animal itself isn't. I'm not going to. The animal itself isn't unusual. It was unusual to see it in our garden.
That's it.
Is how I would explain the incident.
By the way, could you clean your teeth? Did you hear that?
Oh, I'm not the only one.
I don't think so. So here we go. This is the animal that came into our garden. We were sitting last night having our supper, and there was a strange irony to this because whilst we were watching this animal, we were sitting at the dining table eating the same animal. I'm sure you've guessed what it is. Here it is. So last night we were very surprised to find a lamb in the garden. It actually came through the fence into the garden, and there it is having a lovely munch on Mr. Steve's grass.
Well, and this isn't the first time, is it?
No, because it sneaked in last week when I was cooking our supper, and I had to run out because I was panicking, and I saw this lamb in the garden, and I was wondering what was going on. I wasn't quite sure how it got in. However, in a moment you will see how it got in, because it leaves by the same way. So keep watching and you will see it.
Yes, I'd gone off for a spot of exercise, a little semi-jog and a walk around the area here while Mr. Duncan was cooking the meal, the tea, and I came back and Mr. Duncan was in a state of panic.
Well, I wasn't in panic. I was in a state of exhaustion because I'd just chased a lamb. Here we go. So this is how it gets in and out. See? Watch. And there it goes. It squeezes through that small gap.
And there's barbed wire there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised it doesn't give itself sort of scratches on its legs.
Yeah. So that's what happened last night when we were eating. This is the best part.
Yes.
We were eating lamb.
We were eating lamb at the same time as we saw a baby lamb come into the garden. So if only it knew.
Yes.
But I think what's happening is the sheep are coming up to the fence and they're looking in at just the most fabulous garden they've ever seen.
Yes, your grass is lovely.
And they love the look of the grass, or the grass, as I would say. Grass. You would say grass. Same thing. Obviously mine is better. And it must think, I've just got to get at that wonderful looking, well-kept grass. It's only short. I don't have to sort of go through the weeds. I can just munch away at this lovely grass. And we've seen them at the fence sort of looking longingly. I mean, if it's impossible to imagine that an animal like a sheep would sort of have a longing look on its face. If you've got a longing look, it means you've just got to go there.
Yes.
You've just got to go there.
I can imagine that they were dreaming about our lawn coming through. But the funny thing was, last night, there were some other lambs trying to get through the gap, but they couldn't because they were much, much larger, because they had actually grown. They couldn't get through the gap. So there is only one small lamb, that is able to get through that small gap in the garden. But it was very unusual. It's not very often you see a lamb in your own garden.
Nisar asked a question earlier.
Okay.
It has actually been answered by Valentina. So thank you for answering. See, it's so wonderful when, because we get so many questions, it's virtually impossible for us to answer them all.
What's the question?
The question was, what's the difference between Great Britain and the United Kingdom?
Oh, dear.
And Valentina has given a fabulous answer, so thank you for that.
Can I just say, even here in this country, there are many people who still get confused. Sometimes we do. Is it United Kingdom? Is it Great Britain? Is it England? When do we say these things? Is it Britain? Because some people say Britain as well.
I think Great Britain and Britain are the same.
Anyway, let's not get into that because the answer has been answered.
Has been answered. I'm just checking though. Great Britain is only English. Yes, so Britain is just the island.
Okay, so you are going to explain it.
Yes, that's it, which includes Scotland and Wales and England. And the UK is anyone that's part of the UK.
Don't forget Northern Ireland.
Yeah, but that's not part of Britain. That's part of the UK.
That's it. So Britain is the big landmass. Great Britain is the whole landmass, including Ireland, as I understand it. See, this is where it gets...
No, Mr. Duncan.
This is where it's...
Valentine has given the correct explanation.
Okay, then. Anyway, that's enough of that.
But you could be right. That's it. So look there, and there's the answer. Let's move on quickly before we make ourselves look stupid. Why do farms create lambs, eat the meat, or taking their wool? It's both.
Yes.
But I think predominantly in the UK now. See, if you go back to sort of 1700s.
You did talk about this 2 weeks ago.
Did I?
We used to have our own lamb here. Now we don't. A lot of it's imported.
No, that isn't what I was going to say. You see, Mr. Duncan, no, we used to have a very vibrant wool industry in this country.
You talked about that as well.
Not 2 weeks ago. So it used to be, I think, the centre of the world for wool production, sort of in the 1700s. But not anymore because it's cheaper to import wool, as it is, lots of things. In lots of Western countries now import lots of things. But so we predominantly now have lambs for meat. I don't think there's much wool trade going on in the UK.
No. A lot of it is imported, I think you'll find.
When we grew up, it was Australia where we imagined, because we always used to see lots of programs about Australia and shearing lambs for the wool. And so I don't know in my mind, I might be wrong, but back in the 70s, I think a lot of the wool came from Australia.
It was actually, they didn't shear the lambs, they shear the sheep.
Shear the sheep. A lot of the wool came from New Zealand and Australia. Where it comes from now, I don't know.
Well, that was so clearly explained.
I think it was. I think I explained quite clearly.
Mr. Steve was outside yesterday, by the way. He was very busy. And we'll be looking at that in a moment, Steve.
It's a scandal.
Can you just keep
talking about a scandal?
Yes, I know. Because we were talking about it earlier when you weren't here.
Well, I'm here now. We've
had a scandal, you see. A political scandal over the past 2 or 3 days.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, now you've remembered. It was just a thing we spent the whole morning.
Well, I thought it was a scandal on in our lovely community.
No, that's never going to happen.
Well, we'd like to know.
We're all so good and pure here, you see. By the way, we have flags of the world. In 4 minutes from now, prepare to get your flag out and wave it as hard as you can. So, yes, we have had a slight scandal. Yeah? What was that?
I was just laughing because it is... I was just going to say that for people watching who know about this scandal, a prominent politician has been caught having an affair with another woman.
I think it's slightly more than an affair. He was caught red-handed.
Well, I'm just saying it was an affair. Yes, it was caught on camera and he was breaking all the lockdown. But in the UK, it's always a big thing when a politician has a liaison, an affair with somebody, whereas in other countries, and it would be interesting to find out just before we go, in your country, if your politicians are caught having affairs with other people outside their marriage,
or any scandal,
is it a big? Well, I'm talking specifically about affairs with people. Is it a big scandal in your country when this happens?
As opposed to affairs with animals.
Yes, well, I'm talking about sexual liaisons with members of other people. Other than their spouses.
Sex scandals normally do involve at least one member.
I mean, it's always a big news item in the UK, but particularly so for this particular poor politician. I mean, the Queen described him as a very poor man this week, didn't she?
That wasn't what she said, though.
What a poor man. Yes, but not poor financially, poor in terms of,
He's been very busy.
He's been very busy and he's just,
As we found out recently, he's been very busy. He's definitely had his hands full. Yes. The only problem is the thing that he's had his hands full with has not been the coronavirus. It's been his secretary, his aide.
So what happens in your countries? Please tell us the country you're in and if your politicians, or does it even get into the news?
Well, I think sex scandals always do anywhere in the world.
Well, I don't know. I think my perception is that in certain countries, they're not really that bothered about their politicians having affairs with other people.
Which countries would you?
Well, the perception that we have in the UK is that if you're a French politician or maybe an Italian politician, nobody, the general population, don't really care. That's our perception. But is it true? Is it true?
I'm not sure about that. Maybe Italy. Because Italy does have quite a relaxed attitude towards things like that. So maybe Italy would not be so outraged by it. But it's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So sexual sex scandals, and there have been many over the years here in the UK. I can think of at least 10. I know you don't believe this, but I can think of 10 scandals over the years involving a prominent MP and maybe a woman.
So Vittoria and Alessandra in Italy say that they tend to deny the evidence and not resign, or just not resign.
Yes.
But actually, in this case in the UK, it wasn't just about an affair. It was about the fact that we were in lockdown, and this particular politician was supposed to be head of the NHS, giving us advice on what we need to do during this pandemic. And he was telling us, we mustn't. The lockdown rules were there, but he was caught breaking the lockdown rules. So I think that's why he's had to resign.
He was the health secretary, so he had all that responsibility. So whilst he was telling us to keep our distance and not hug and kiss or get close to other people, he was doing all of that. And they have the video evidence to prove it. Oh, Steve, it's 3 o'clock.
Embarrassing.
Just after 3 o'clock. We're going to have a break because it's time to wave those lovely, colourful flags in the air. Yes, it's time for those flags of the world. That went fast.
It did.
Are you enjoying your sweet?
I'm sucking a mint.
Spit it out.
No, I swallowed it now.
You swallowed it.
There's no joke there that we're going to make. Lewis makes a lovely point. Well, and a point which I wholeheartedly agree with.
Yeah.
Which I was going to say as well. Politicians are men and women. They are made of flesh and bones. And of course, so yeah, everyone's susceptible to having an affair. And particularly, I think, if you're in a highly stressed job. I mean, imagine being a health minister during the pandemic. When you were made health minister, you're very young. You certainly weren't expecting a pandemic.
Okay.
And so being forced into that. So I do feel a bit sorry for... can we mention his name? Have we mentioned his name?
We haven't really mentioned it properly.
Matt. Let's call him Matty.
Let's call him M. Hancock.
I do feel a bit sorry for him because everyone criticised what he was doing during the pandemic when nobody really knew what they were doing. I mean, yes, we made mistakes, of course, like all countries did. But when you're in a very high pressure situation and you're probably spending all your time, in the House of Commons, not very much time at home, you're forced together with people that you work colleagues. Yes. It's almost inevitable that sort of sexual tensions will develop.
But he's married.
I know he's married. That's something that's come out today, hasn't it? Okay. I think his wife, we're speculating here.
You are enjoying this far too much.
We're speculating because we now discover that this politician is now living with the person that he's allegedly had an affair with. So it looks like his wife has thrown him out of the house.
I do like the fact that Steve just says these things without getting them verified.
Well, as I say, we're allegedly assuming that that's happened. But you said to me this morning...
Well, I said it was a rumour.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Rumour. And it's not, so rumours, you don't normally say something is a rumour, but then talk about it as if it's real or fact. But,
I keep saying allegedly, so that's what they were saying on Have I Got News for You, which is a programme, news commentary programme. Okay. If they want to make a joke about something and not get sued, they will say allegedly after everything they say.
That's it.
Saturino makes a good point. In Italy, power means beautiful girls and beautiful cars.
Yes, I think so. I think you find that there is a certain amount of glamour. I think it's also very tempting as well if you have power. If you are a person who has power and authority, for some females, I have to be careful what I'm saying here because it is 2021.
Some people, let's just say people, let's not mention, whether they're male or female. Let's just say that quite often for some people, a person in power, in a powerful position, becomes very attractive for whatever reason.
Well, it's because they have power. I think that is it.
Some people are attracted to power, even if that person isn't particularly attractive as judged by average people. I mean, Matty, this politician, was not exactly ever described as a pin-up. Well, he was not described as somebody who is...
Okay.
He's an average-looking bloke.
Okay, yes. Well, I wasn't planning on going this personal.
But if you've got lots of power, you can get away with being sort of overweight, maybe not particularly attractive. Because if that power is attractive, you don't need the looks to go with it.
Okay.
The power is enough to give you that allure and that mystique and that attraction.
Okay, Steve. Someone mentioned Berlusconi.
I have to rely on my looks,
Steve.
Of course.
Okay, Steve.
We've got power whatsoever.
Okay, Steve. Can we talk about something else?
Yes.
Berlusconi, you see, they mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So he's not exactly an oil painting. He's not exactly good looking, but he used to get his fair share of the ladies because of his power and status. But I think the worst thing is the hypocrisy. I think that's it. A person who says you must do this or you must not do that, but then they themselves break the rules. So you have to do as I say, not as I do. And I think a lot of people became a little annoyed because they were being told to stay away from their friends and family and stay isolated in social distance. That was all happening. And there he was grabbing his aide's bottom and giving her a really wet snog.
Yes, I mean, ordinarily I don't think, people's personal lives shouldn't really come into it, I don't think. But in this particular case, because he was breaking his own rules that he was telling us, he has lost credibility in the eyes of other politicians and also us. As somebody pointed out, as a reporter pointed out, how can he now stand up in the House of Commons
or anywhere
on television and tell us this is what you need to do when he's breaking the rules that he's setting? So he has lost credibility.
Yes. So
nobody believes what he says anymore.
Okay. Part of the lockdown is you must not grab your secretary or anyone helping you in your job. You must not grab her and have a crafty, sneaky snog.
See, Palmyra makes a good point there. Bill Clinton had a sex scandal.
Yes,
but he didn't lose his job, at least not straight away.
He was impeached.
He had to eventually because he lied.
Yes.
But had he admitted the affair, probably would have been all right.
I had no relations with that woman. And it turned out that he was having quite a few relations with that woman.
Yes.
You've got to be careful, you see. Once you get authority and power and status, you have to make sure that you don't misuse it.
Watch out, Mr. Duncan, all the power you have on the internet,
I don't think I have any power.
I don't know whether people have approached you, sent you emails, pictures, wanting to meet up with you because of your power that you have.
Can I just say, I have no power on the internet. I have no power on YouTube. I'm like have you ever walked along the beach and you see a fish and it's dead and the birds have been pecking at it and all of its insides are hanging out? That's me. I'm a dead fish on the beach with it's been pecked to pieces by seagulls. That's me.
That's a bit of a depressing view. Maybe once you get to 1 million subscribers, then people will sit up and take notice. Oh, Mr. Duncan. Oh, yes, he's got 1 million subscribers. Oh, isn't he attractive?
Yes. But what you actually need is 1 million viewers. It doesn't matter how many subscribers you have if only 15 people are watching. You see, that's the problem.
Yes, we're not sexy enough.
That's it.
This is the problem.
There are very sexy people now on YouTube doing all sorts of things, including teaching English, you see, but not like us. We're old and worn out.
Speak for yourself.
A couple of old queens, you see. Nobody wants to watch that. They want to watch beautiful young women.
Wow.
And maybe one day they will loosen their top button. Yes, you see. It happens a lot now on TikTok. Apparently the latest thing on TikTok and also on Twitch is young girls. I'm not joking. I wish this was true. This was a lie. It isn't. It's true. Girls lying in small swimming pools in a bikini, and that's all they do on camera. They just lie there. And people send them hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And that's all they're doing. They're not doing anything else. That's all they do.
Why are they lying in small swimming pools? What's the relevance of that?
Well, it's all done indoors.
Oh, I see. You mean, are they in the bath?
No, not in baths. No, they're in small paddling pools or swimming pools. Those things you inflate.
Really?
And men around the world are throwing thousands and thousands of dollars. There is one guy, and I'm not joking, he sent one of these girls $11,000.
11,000?
Just for... It's all documented. A lot of people have been talking about this new trend.
He must be, a multi-millionaire or something.
So what we need to do now, me and you, we have to get ourselves a little swimming pool, one of those inflatable swimming pools, and we have to put our bikinis on and or our big swimming trunks or swimming shorts, and then we have to climb in together and just frolic around, splashing each other.
Imagine the viewers we'd get for that.
Yeah, so we might do it. We might start our own Twitch channel where we just frolic around in a pool of water.
Would anybody send us money, do you think?
I don't think so. We might get taken off pretty quickly. I think that would happen pretty quickly.
We'd be breaking. I mean, people would probably be vomiting.
Oh, okay.
Watching us, saying,
That's a bit hard. Have we ever made anyone out there vomit?
The thing is, we have lovely viewers, loyal viewers, lovely viewers that watch us, and they're not watching us because of our sexuality.
No.
Well, I'm assuming they're not. I think somebody might be.
When you say sexuality, do you mean our beauty?
Our beauty. Well, I mean, we know of one or two people who, we know they're attracted to me. Well, I know that. And we get the comments, I get the comments.
They're humouring you.
And it's nice, certain people with fantastic physiques who I know have designs, on me. But, you just learn to live with it and just get on with life, really.
You are so disillusioned. You really do live in your own world.
I know, I do. I don't think we've seen that particular person today, have we?
No.
Despite flags of the world.
Yes, we had flags of the world. Okay, so are you reviewing today's live stream? At the start of today's live stream, Mr. Duncan appeared and he said hello.
Valentina says Hancock preached good and scratched bad. Is that a phrase we use?
Are we all going to ignore the fact that his second name contains a certain word? Are we just going to ignore that?
Well, I don't think we need to refer to that, Mr. Duncan. It's a bit dirty.
It isn't dirty, it's just funny.
Is that a phrase, though? Preach good and scratch bad.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that United States senator that was apparently getting his manhood out on camera. And his name was Anthony Weiner. And I just think if you are going to get your willy out and show it to people, please make sure that your name is not Weiner, because that is never going to get old.
We ought to explain for people that aren't aware.
Well, I think
Weiner.
I think you will find many people know that Weiner is another name for the man's appendage.
I think they use that phrase in America. We don't tend to use it here.
Yes.
Although we might do. Right. I did see a comment from somebody I wanted to say earlier.
Okay.
But never mind. You carry on.
We can wait.
No, you carry on, Mr. Duncan. No, that's it. It's gone. I can't think what it was.
Well, that was worthwhile. I'm so glad we did that. So another question I'm going to ask today, because I know we've been a bit heavy today with our talk subjects. So I thought a nice one would be a subject that might cheer us all up. When was the last time you laughed at something? When was the last time you really had a good laugh? Maybe you watched a movie or a TV show and it was really funny and it made you laugh so much. Do you ever laugh where it actually hurts in the end? Whilst you're laughing, your sides or your ribs actually start to hurt. So we watched a very good movie the other night, a classic movie called Blazing Saddles. And it is a movie that at the time did stir some controversy because it does use some very offensive language. However, the theme of the film is not offensive. It is actually the opposite, but it's a brilliant film made by Mel Brooks, who, by the way, will be 95. I think it's next week. He's 95. So it's a brilliant movie. And so I was just thinking, when was the last time you had a good laugh?
A belly laugh.
A belly laugh. When was the last time that you laughed so hard
it hurt?
A little bit of wee-wee came out.
Laugh to the point where it hurts.
Yes.
And we're not talking about laughing at somebody. Well, could be.
Yes.
You could be doing that now. You could be watching us and laughing so much at those two idiots that it makes your sides ache.
Yes. I do sometimes think people do come to watch us just to hate what we do.
You were talking about loneliness earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And Olga says, speaking about loneliness,
Okay.
I felt lonely before the lesson starts, but now I don't because of your company.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Olga.
Thank you, Olga. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
Yes, but people were making comments about being lonely. You've spoken about that subject already. We're not talking about loneliness or unhappiness. We're now talking about happiness and laughter.
Yes. So there is a movie that we watched some time ago, and we are going to watch it tonight. So this could be a new feature. Maybe every Sunday we could show a movie that we are going to watch on the same day or same evening.
Or a programme.
So here is a movie that was made many years ago. I think it was around 1974, a very old movie. But it is also a film that we rather like. We like this film. So I will just remove that. There it is. It is a funny film starring Gene Wilder, a comedy actor who many people might be familiar with. Also another famous actress called Madeline Kahn, also a very funny woman. And another guy who is famous for having big bulging eyes, Marty Feldman. And this movie is called Sherlock Holmes's Smarter Brother. And it's very funny, made many years ago. In fact,
1975.
1975 it was made. So a very long time ago. It was the only movie that was ever directed by Gene Wilder. The only movie he ever directed, because it did not receive very good reviews. So this movie actually, when it was released in the cinemas, it was actually a flop. It was a failure. However, as far as we're concerned, Steve, we think it's one of the funniest movies ever made.
I do.
Because it's very funny. Not only that, it is full of well-known actors. And sometimes you get this, Steve, don't you, in movies? You get lots and lots of very big, famous actors in one film.
Yes.
And I think this is a very good example of a movie that has lots of famous British actors in this movie. So it is very funny. It's about Sherlock Holmes's smarter brother. So not his older brother, Mycroft, you see, because Sherlock Holmes did actually have an older brother called Mycroft.
Oh.
And he was actually, fans of Sherlock Holmes believe that Mycroft was actually more smart or smarter than Sherlock Holmes himself. Because quite often he would go to his older brother for help. However, in this movie, Sherlock Holmes has a younger brother who is not quite as bright as Sherlock Holmes. So it's a good movie.
Yes, that was a very long explanation, Mr. Duncan. Check it out. It is funny if you want a laugh, or a laugh, as Mr. Duncan would say.
Yes.
I think it was a flop in the US because it's got a lot of British character actors in it, and maybe audiences in America weren't prepared for that. But it's hilarious.
It is very funny.
But you've got to sort of tune into it.
So sometimes humour can be very specific, or a certain type of humour. So I'm a big fan of Mel Brooks. I like his movies, Blazing Saddles, History of the World, Part 1, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, that's another one, very funny movie. And more recently, he hasn't done anything for a number of years, because now he's in his 90s, but a lot of his movies have become very popular again because they're being shown on television. So we saw that the other night, very funny movie, Blazing Saddles.
Right, yes, I hope we're getting some sponsorship for that, Mr. Duncan. William Mellows says, I watched Johnny English.
Okay.
And laughed a lot.
Yes, the first one is funny. The first Johnny English.
William was watching, sorry, with an N, not an M, at the end of your name, was watching the third one. Now, I've never watched any of them, only because I'm not a fan of the actor that plays that part. But, each to their own.
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. But it is a funny film. That is true.
The actor is Rowan Atkinson.
I was wondering how long it would take you to remember that.
Well,
Mr.
you
Duncan.
didn't know. But I thought the first one was funny, but the second one and the third one were awful. I saw the second one and I thought it was just terrible. Very disappointing.
Well, William likes it. And that's all that matters. If you find it funny, then that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if other people don't find it funny. If you find it funny, then it's been a good experience.
When was the last time you laughed at something? When was the last time you had a really good laugh? Some people apparently tune into us. They actually watch us so they can have a good laugh. I'm not sure about that. By the way, is there a football match taking place today?
I'm wondering if there is. We're playing Germany sometime this week, I think.
I think it's Wednesday.
Wednesday. Well, there's a lot of history and rivalry between England and Germany in football matches. So it'll be
and away from football.
And we won't go into that, but certainly on the pitch, it's if there are two countries that have any more rivalry between Britain and Germany on the football pitch, I would hasten anybody to tell me. But yes, and because now we're of Brexit, that makes it even more poignant. Poignant, there's a good word, poignant, even more in focus, really, because people will be...
It's not what it means.
Well, poignant, even more...
It's a moment that brings about emotions.
Emotions, yes.
Yes.
It's poignant, it's important, it matters, it has impact.
Welcome to using words that we don't know the meaning of.
Well, I do know the meaning of it, and I think I used it in the correct way, Mr. Duncan. How rude!
Poignant. So it brings about
yes.
It brings about a feeling of emotion, something that maybe tugs at your heart.
If something's poignant, it means it's relevant, important at that time. So it'll be very interesting to see how the media talk about this match. Is it Brexit Britain against Europe?
Yeah. Well,
is that match going to be pitched in that way?
Yeah. Well, you know where this all started. It was the cup final all those years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
When it was West Germany. Who remembers that? Who remembers West Germany? That's when we had West Germany. Wow.
That's right.
Incredible. So that was way back. I want to say 1967.
Well, there was wasn't there a final, a Euro match final, Britain against Germany, not that long ago, and Germany won, but it was sort of, that was a very important match, I think. That was probably only about 10 years ago, maybe 15. Football fans will tell us, although I doubt that there are actually any football fans on, because if they were, they'd be watching the match.
Yeah, 1966. So that's the one.
No, Britain-Germany, there's been another match since then, an important match since then.
That's where it started. That rivalry in football started from that point, because England always thought that they'd been robbed of that actual win. So there we go.
No, Addy or AD, I'm not ignoring your pride comments. I just haven't had time to mention it yet.
We've got our colourful lights on the house.
Well, this is what AD says.
Okay.
Have you two celebrated Pride? And if so, Mr. Duncan, you told us about the Christmas lights that you still have on.
Yes.
And AD says, I put balloons in front of the house.
That's it.
So, lovely.
Were they colourful balloons?
Were they all the colours of the rainbow?
Did you know that the Pride flag originally had more colours? And they took some of them out.
Why?
Because of the design. The design there were too many colours apparently in the original Pride flag, and so they had to take some of them out. I'm not joking. There's a whole documentary about it.
Tomek, of course, is being contrarian, taking the opposite view.
Mm-hmm. How?
He hopes Germans will beat England.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the other week, Tomek was rooting for, was it the Czech Republic? There was a match going on at the time, and Tomek was hoping that we know you want us to win, really. Actually, we don't care personally.
I couldn't care less.
We don't care. French comedies, Emin says, like Big Wandering.
Okay.
Oh, we don't know that one.
Well, I was always a big fan of Jacques Tati, who of course Rowan Atkinson took a lot of inspiration from for his character of Mr. Bean. It's true, yes. Jacques Tati, very famous French movie star, no longer around, but he did everything silently. So he didn't speak. Everything he did was silent, and everything was done visually, which of course is very similar to Mr. Bean. So that's why Mr. Bean behaves the way he does, because he was inspired by Jacques Tati and some very funny films. So yes, I do like other types of cinema as well.
The sad fact is, in the UK, the only comedy that we get to see is either British, really, or American, because we don't get to see French comedy, German comedy, whereas across Europe, and a lot of our viewers are expressing this, they do watch a lot of British humour because, they're probably taught to speak English, and we're not taught to speak all the other languages in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so most people in the UK don't really speak very much of any other language apart from British. I mean, obviously some people do, but not to a level where you could watch a television programme in a foreign language.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the point is.
The point is that people across Europe and people watching us today are watching lots of British comedy. I mean, there may be subtitles, I don't know. But they're watching British comedy. But we don't get to see any comedy programmes from France or Germany or anywhere because, well, we couldn't understand the language because nobody speaks that well. And we don't get any subtitled comedy programmes. So all our comedy comes from either the UK, really, or America, doesn't it?
Well, if it is your first language, then that's probably going to happen anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying we don't get anything else. Whereas people watching us today are saying, talking about all the British comedy programmes that they're watching. Yeah. Whereas we would never get to watch any comedy programmes from any other country other than England, UK, or America.
Although it has become
Australia.
It has become Australia, yes, the Australian language.
I don't think. Well, it's British. It's English, So we don't have very much variety in this country of comedy.
Yes, but there has been recently a sort of trend towards showing foreign TV shows on the BBC. So there are many from Scandinavia. Of all places, Scandinavia, lots of Scandinavian crime dramas with subtitles, with captions, which I always find quite fascinating. But yes, you are right, Steve. There are many TV shows that are made in English.
I mean, there must be comedy shows. I mean, if we make lots of comedy shows, there must be lots of French comedy shows. There must be lots of German, Swedish, you name it, comedy shows, but we never get to see them, not even in a subtitled way.
Yes.
By the way, AD's balloons were pride colours.
Ah.
Why don't you take a picture and send it to Mr. Duncan, and we can have a look.
I'm very interested to see your balloons. That is not a euphemism. That's not a euphemism, by the way. It's just... Please send me a photograph of your balloons.
Olga says that she likes the French comedian Danny Boone.
Oh.
You see, we've never heard of these people.
Never heard of Danny Boone.
We don't get to see any of these comedians from other countries. We don't even... I mean, we could... Why don't they show them, but, put subtitles?
Yes.
So if you're watching... This is a question I want to ask. If you're watching all these films like Johnny English... I think Sergio, somebody mentioned I can't remember the British comedy. What's that famous British comedy series? I can't remember now. Anyway, but are you watching it in your country?
There are a few.
Does it have subtitles, or are you just watching it, and understanding obviously the English from it?
I'm going to make a guess and say, because many of my viewers are learning English, I would imagine that they are also watching the movies with captions as well. I would think so.
There we go. So yes, 3 Men in a Boat.
3 Men in a Boat,
says Vittoria. I laughed hard. That's a book, I think.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Eldar Ryazanov is a Russian comedian, I think. See, we don't get to see any of these comedians.
I do remember my time in China, there were many comedy acts, and they would often have what they call talking or double talk or cross talk. And it would be two people coming on the stage, and they would do a comedy routine. Quite often one of them would be in a certain character. So yes, that was some of the sort of humour that I would watch in China, and it was funny, even though I didn't really understand it. But visually, it was also quite funny to watch as well.
The nearest thing we've ever come to French comedy is when I was growing up, we always had a mime artist, Marcel Marceau, wasn't it? Used to appear on programmes occasionally. Marcel Marceau, Lewis will know. Famous French. That's not really comedy, but it was a mime act. Yeah, that's it. It used to be all sort of white. His face was white. It was very distinctive.
I'm trapped in a box.
Yes. So, hello, Pedro, by the way. Next subject, Mr. Duncan.
Oh. Is the one.
Pedro said hello, so I was saying I didn't know Pedro was on today.
Yes. Well, we do have the sentence game coming soon.
I wonder if he heard my comments earlier. I was talking about you earlier, Pedro.
Okay.
Wasn't I?
Yeah. We're all glad that you told us that.
Getting hot again.
We're so glad. We will be playing the sentence game in the moment, and we are talking about, lonely words.
Lonely words?
Lonely words, being alone, alone words.
We could never be lonely with this wonderful community on Mr. Duncan's channel.
Although, as I said earlier, sometimes I do like my own company. Steve, it's funny, Steve is a social animal, whereas I am not. I tend to like my own company. I do like to be away from people, where Steve always likes to have some sort of social activity taking place, even if he's just talking on the phone with.
I like to talk,
but I don't like that. I like just to go away and sit down and be away from all of the noise, all of the hustle and bustle, and the people with their problems. So that's just me, you see. So we are very different in that respect.
Sarath loves Mr. Bean. Valentina liked the film Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey. A few other people mentioned Jim Carrey as well. I was going to make... Jimmy says that Jimmy found out about ABBA through watching Johnny English.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know there were ABBA songs in Johnny English, but I love ABBA. Somebody else mentioned earlier, there we go, John Joseph 10. When are we all going to get together in a Zoom meeting and get to know each other better? Do you know, that's a very good idea.
It's a great idea, but the technology would just not work.
Why not?
I know that already. One of the worst things you can try and do is have lots of people on your screen at the same time, all wanting to speak. So that's the reason why we've never really done it, you see. We've never done Skype or calls from other parts of the world, because quite often, technically, it is always a disaster, because there are so many things that can go wrong with it. So I've always stayed away from that. I've always avoided doing that. But I do know what you mean But of course, you can send pictures. You can send a little video of yourself saying hello. So you can always do that and send it to my email address.
We could have rules, so it would just be a social event, not an English teaching event. Because at work we have social events, but it does get difficult when you get lots of people, because one or two people then tend to speak a lot, and other people don't get to say anything. But what you can do is you can have rules, so you can ask certain people to talk at certain times and things like that.
Yes.
But I think it would be nice.
Well, from that point of view, I'm just talking also about the connections. So if a person has a very slow internet connection, then that will then have an impact on everything that happens on screen. So that is the problem. I'm sure we've all seen that when a person is talking on their webcam and their connection is dreadful, but then you're trying to hear what the person is saying, but it keeps stopping and starting.
Well, it'd be nice to try. But I think we should all meet up. We should have a central location. I'm thinking, somewhere like, somewhere in South America for no particular reason. Maybe Brazil. I think that's fairly central to everyone. We all meet there. And we're guaranteed at least one person will be there that we know.
You think South America is central?
Oh, definitely. I think that would be the place for us all to meet up. Absolutely, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, it's not because there's one particular person watching where it happens to be their sort of home country. Nothing at all to do with that at all. But that would be nice one day if we could all meet up. We could meet some. Well, I've said it before. We could go on a world tour. We'd need money for that, of course, more money than we have. But it would be nice to go on like a country to country, and maybe not every country. And just sort of meet people and stay for free in their houses.
How on earth can we go to every country? That would be impossible. I don't think anyone has ever travelled to every country in the world. I think it's pretty hard to do.
Well, we definitely need to go to Brazil. We've got lots of people watching us in Brazil.
I mean on YouTube.
Yeah, lots of countries we'd have to go to. We've mentioned before all the countries that watch us. In fact, yes. Lewis has mentioned today. Steve Carell, Emin says, is an American comedian that they appreciate. Are we doing the...
He was first seen, by the way, in Bruce Almighty a long, long time ago. So a lot of people first discovered Steve Carell in Bruce Almighty. He played the newsreader. And then much later, he was the star of the American version of The Office as well. So he was in that for several seasons before he left. And of course he's in many films as well, including Anchorman, very funny actor. Also he is capable of acting seriously as well. He's appeared in quite a few serious movies as well.
Jeff says that in Hong Kong, Stephen Chow.
Ah, yes. Very funny, very funny. He does some of the martial arts, but also some comedy as well. So yes, I'm trying to remember his Chinese name. I can't remember his Chinese name, but he does a lot of very funny comedies. You might describe them as spoofs as well. I always remember he was in a movie where he was being followed by all of these ghosts, and you might not realise this, Steve, but ghosts jump up and down in Chinese movies. Right. They don't walk, they jump. Did you know
they
that?
Don't sort of float across?
No, they jump. So when you see ghosts in Chinese films, quite often they will jump along as they go. And there was a great movie with Stephen Chow. Chow Sing-chi. Yes. Very, very funny actor. So yes, I have seen some of his movies. Yes, I have.
Is it time, Mr. Duncan?
It is time.
Is it time for lonely words, or is it time for lonely words that are incorporated into the sentence game?
We are going to play the sentence game right now. Are you ready to play the sentence game, Mr. Steve?
I am.
Let's do it.
Just very quickly, Mr. Duncan. Very quickly, Palmyra mentions, what about female comedian actors? We haven't mentioned one.
I can't think of one.
Oh, we've got lots in this country, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
French and Saunders, very funny. Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French, very famous comedians. He likes them, really. They do spoofs of films, and they dress up as sort of male characters quite often. It's very funny.
They did 25 years ago.
Yes.
There are
French
not.
and Saunders.
I'm going to be honest. I know this is controversial, but I'm going to say it. I don't know many funny female comedians as watching them. Isn't that strange?
Well,
I don't mean to be offensive, but I find it very hard to name funny female comedians. Isn't that strange?
Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders.
Yes, but even that now, I don't even find them very funny.
Well, it's like, oh, yes.
Is that offensive?
No.
No.
It might be to them. And yes, who were we talking about? But there are very funny character actors from the past, British female actresses that are very funny. But anyway,
I did mention Madeline Kahn earlier.
She was very funny.
Very funny. See, that's funny. See, that type of humour. She was a brilliant actress and also very funny. So, female comedian, comedy actress, funny.
Palmyra mentions your favourite actress, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Whoopi Goldberg. I sometimes feel as if I need to turn the volume down.
She was very funny in Sister Act.
And also press the off button.
And Star Trek Next Generation. Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh, dear.
But I don't mind Whoopi Goldberg.
The only thing I like Whoopi Goldberg in is Ghost. She was very good in that.
That wasn't a comedy.
Well, no, but her role was.
Was it?
Yes. She. Have you seen Ghost?
Yes, but I can't remember.
Oh, I see. She was the fake psychic, and then she realizes that she can see a ghost, and so there is a kind of humour that runs through that film. I know it's a dark film, but there is a lot of.
Alessandra
humour.
likes Whoopi Goldberg as well.
Yeah.
Lewis is going.
We can't all like the same thing.
Melissa McCarthy.
Oh my God.
Says Olga. Well, you've got to be you. Mr. Duncan, you mustn't make disparaging comments about what your viewers like.
Melissa McCarthy. Now that is
Elizabeth Winstead, Marcia Cardoza.
What have I done?
You've opened a box here, Mr. Duncan.
Melissa McCarthy was funny on Saturday Night Live when she was doing Sean Spicer. I think that was her. Do you remember Sean Spicer? He was on that little lectern, and he would actually ride around on it like he was on a Segway, and that was Melissa McCarthy.
And now, who is that? Who's that? Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Better play the sentence game because Tom X probably getting more and more frustrated.
The sentence game is here. Here we go then. Shall we play the sentence game? It's time for our sentence game. All you have to do is guess what the missing words are in the sentence. And we will begin it right now. Here we go. Here's our first sentence game. We are
Lonely words.
Alone words. There are lots of songs, by the way, that talk about loneliness. I mentioned Only the Lonely earlier. Very famous song.
Jennifer Aniston. Only the lonely. I was something for something to something for me. Me to the something. 1, 2, 3. So don't kick off with an easy one, will you, Mr. Duncan?
Well, no, I'm not.
4 words.
Jennifer Aniston.
She was funny in Friends.
She was funny in Friends when Friends was funny.
Yes, and now when you watch it, it's
when
not
you
funny.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've watched a couple of episodes of Friends, and it's really not funny anymore. I don't know why.
It's dated badly.
It just feels as if they're really horrible people who I wouldn't want to know ever in real life. I don't know why.
Kate Hudson.
Okay.
Kate Hudson. Arthur says, where are the lonely words? They're in that sentence somewhere.
I was something for something to something, me to the something. We have 7 letters, 9 letters, and 5 letters. The letter L, S, A, and P. So let's see.
Spitting Image, somebody mentioned earlier as being a very funny programme.
Oh, yes. Puppet show.
Yes. Ah, right, Vittoria. Right. Ooh. Well.
Vittoria. It looks as if Vittoria might be almost right. Almost right. Although that does fit in. So the first word does actually fit. So well done for that. Well done for that. But also there is another word, and that's the word that I've used there, you see. I was something for something to something.
Longing, you see, is a bit of a lonely word. I was
Yes.
longing
Yes.
for company. I was longing to feel your touch.
Longing. So if you are longing for something, it means you are yearning, something you want. But that's very good. I like that one. Valentina. Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, Valentina has another suggestion. Also Vitas. Thank you, Vitas. Also using longing as the first missing word. Sergio says, now it's time for the boring part of the show. Thanks. We love your support and encouragement. Thank you very much.
He's laughing. I thought Flags of the World was the boring part for you, Sergio. Oh dear. Looking for someone to come to. Yes. Yes.
Yes, Vittoria, you actually came up with a better word than I did.
And then Tomek retracted it. So we're not offended.
No.
We like it when people come up with suggestions that
please.
are better than us.
Yes, please insult us. It's
Yes.
all right. No problem.
I mean, why did you retract that statement? It was too late because I was watching out for Tomek's comments.
Okay. Here we go then. So here is the answer to
But it's true. No, we love it when people come up with different suggestions for the words. This is what we encourage. Debate and people to use their skills. We want that. We're not offended. What's the answer, Mr. Duncan?
The answer is...
As you see it?
What? The answer is... What?
Mr. Duncan!
What was that?
Who was that?
What was that then? That was not Mr. Cockerell.
That was Mr. Hancockerell.
That was Matt Hancock. That's the wrong Cockerell.
Just in case anybody didn't know.
Yes, well, what do you mean? We've been talking about him for half of today's live stream. He's the guy that got caught, you see, having a little kiss and a cuddle when he should have been socially...
Yes, but people probably didn't know what he looked like.
No, well, all right. You do know how to stamp all over a joke. Just let it breathe on its own. So
Life is treating me very well, Pedro.
When you are being funny, Steve, here's the secret of being funny. Let it breathe. Don't crush it. Don't stamp on it. Just let it happen naturally.
So, right, you say the word longing. Say longing.
Longing.
Ah, yes. It is different, Olga. We pronounce the word differently.
You long for something.
But I say longing, and you say longing.
Well, yes.
So, yeah, you can. Both are correct.
You don't say lonning.
Longing. I'm longing.
Yes.
But you say you pronounce the G like a hard G.
Okay.
Longing. longing.
I didn't know it was a criminal offence.
No, but people are pointing out this is all about, pronunciation is an important part of learning English.
Here we go.
So yes, you can say longing or longing.
Steve, we've only done one sentence game.
I think it's very good that Olga noticed the difference.
Good. I was looking for someone to accompany me to the party. So accompany means to go with. So you are looking for someone to go with you to the party, to keep you company. So maybe you are alone and you need someone to go with you. I was looking for someone to accompany me to the party. So there it is, our first sentence game.
But longing fits in there.
Yeah, longing also fits.
So thank you very much.
Here's another one, Steve. We've got to rush because we are running out of time again.
Eddie Murphy, says Emin. Don't get me started. Right, next one.
What? Don't get.
We're not fans, are we?
Well, I don't.
We're not fans.
Eddie Murphy is one of those strange comedians who went through different phases. So if you've ever seen Eddie Murphy's stage routines many years ago when he started out, sometimes they were very offensive towards certain groups of people. That's all I'm saying.
Very offensive towards...
Yes, certain groups of people. That's what I just said.
Gay people.
Yes.
Let's
And
be
everyone,
specific.
really. Other people, yes. And women as well. But I did like Beverly Hills Cop, you see. So he starred in 3 Beverly Hills Cop films. So I don't mind that. But the unusual thing was...
Well,
with Eddie Murphy is he was, of course, caught with a transvestite prostitute in his car, which kind of goes against all of those things that he did in the past, you see. So this is not, I'm not making this up. So sometimes when people speak out against something, quite often it means they are hiding a part of themselves. Yes, you see. So people who are sexist, or maybe they don't like gay people, or people of a certain ethnicity, quite often they are covering up their own fears and their own inadequacies. Ooh, very deep.
Yes, we used to like Eddie Murphy, and then we saw him doing a stand-up routine, and it was somewhat offensive to us.
Yes, it was a little, yes.
Not the first time we've gone off comedians because they've said offensive things, things that offend us.
Well, yes, just sometimes it catches you at the wrong moment. You're not ready to hear that thing. Something are not something about something in something.
Well, we've got lots of suggestions already.
Okay.
And Catigan, or Catigan, or Categan, I don't know how to pronounce your name, was the first to come up with some suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mr. Duncan?
Well, first of all, the last letter is I.
Ah, right.
Yes.
Not L.
No.
It's I.
Well, you can see that there is a capital L there. So if it was L, it would look like that. So we have P, W, L, I.
And loneliness is actually 10 letters.
6 letters, 7 letters, 6 and 9. So the last word there actually begins with I.
Maybe you should have put a dot over it.
Yes, well,
And then we would have...
if it's a capital, you don't.
You don't if it's a capital, no. You don't put a dot over a capital I.
No.
But yes, if it was an L, it would have looked like that.
Well, it looks like that there. There's an L. There's one there on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
It would look...
Yeah, that's right, yes, yeah. Mm-hmm,
I can't believe I'm explaining this
Well, it's teaching.
to you.
You're a teacher, Mr. Duncan. You're not supposed to, Jimmy isn't worried about... Jimmy, you're not lonely. Not when you're on here, anyway.
No one is lonely when we're together here.
In that case, we haven't got a correct answer yet.
Ooh.
Oh, maybe we have. Vitas. Vittoria was, I think, first to get it correct. Not that it's a competition,
And
although it is.
Jamelia as well. So we have Jamelia,
But of course, yes.
Vittoria, and also, can I say, Tomek as well got the final word right as well. So that's good.
Eventually.
That's good.
I'm joking.
So here comes the answer. The answer is coming now.
Valentin as well. Beatrice.
That's the wrong cock. It's not the cockerel. That's Matt Hancock. It's the wrong one.
Come on, Mr. Duncan. Faster. I'm getting hungry. At this stage, I start to feel my energy seems to sap away. It hasn't today. But
you had a lot of energy yesterday because you were in the garden.
I did. I was there with all my equipment out.
We were watching you. We were watching you wave your equipment.
Oh, did you show it earlier?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
No, I showed it when you were here, but I did it sort of so fast. It was subliminal. Lovely, Mr. Steve. He's so lovely.
Yes, well, Catigan or Categan, you probably, you might have got the last word wrong, but you probably helped other people to get the correct answer.
That's
because
good.
you got all the first three ones right. So, this is what happens with the sentence game, is that somebody will start off and get one of the words, and then that or two of the words, and you got three of them, and that will help other people to complete the sentence. So it's a team effort.
Yes.
Here.
Some people are not worried about living in isolation. Some people love it. That's one of the reasons why we moved to the countryside. So we are far away from all of the noise and the pollution and the people.
But I miss people because I am quite sociable.
As we said earlier.
So I do feel a bit isolated here. But I'm starving, says Tomek, which of course means that he's hungry. If you say you're starving, it's an exaggeration, meaning that you're hungry. Well done to everybody that got that right. Have we had the answer?
Yes, it's come and gone.
I missed it.
We'll squeeze one more in.
Okay.
As Matt Hancock said.
To his liaison in the House of Commons.
Squeeze one more in.
I could eat a horse. Yeah, there's another good phrase. If you're hungry, very hungry, you say, oh, I could eat a horse.
I thought you were going to say that's what Matt Hancock said as well.
But yeah.
There's no answer to that.
I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse.
Here we go then,
It's
Steve.
a common expression.
Okay, that's good. I did not something to be something, but something decided it for me.
And this is all to do with being
Alone.
Although you might not necessarily be upset for being alone.
That's it.
You might prefer. My father was like that. He preferred his own company, which is something that Tomek mentioned earlier. Shall I tell you what Tomek said earlier?
That's another way of saying that people don't like being around you.
He thinks that I didn't pick up on this comment earlier, but I did. Tomek says that when it comes to sex, he's often engaging in lone acts. That's quite an admission.
Isn't that oneism?
I bet you thought I'd forgotten that. I brought that up to embarrass you. But obviously you're not bothered.
Isn't that the word? Oneism. Is that? Am I wrong there? Yes. Okay then. You like to visit the fun fair now and again, and you like to enjoy the ride, but
William's going. Bye, William.
You only go to the fun fair on your own.
Going to have lunch. See you next week, and you have a nice week too. Have we got any answers yet? I haven't been paying attention.
Well, nothing new there.
I did not. Ah.
Yes.
Ah. Adi. Or Addy. I think it must be Adi. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Adi. Is that correct? Or is it Addy? Or something else?
Maybe Frederick. I'm living these.
I think we have an answer.
Oh, do we?
I think we do.
Thank goodness for that.
And
I was starting to fall asleep.
well done.
Yes.
Well done. If that's correct, if this is what Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Charlie Chaplin says, Emin.
Yes, we have 6ETDOFC7. I have no idea what that means.
Where's that?
Also on the live chat.
Oh, right.
So yes, we have 3 or 4. Correct. Addy. So well done, Addy. Well done, Arta. Well done also to 6ETDOFC7. That might be. That really does not roll off the tongue. It doesn't, to be honest. Is that your nickname?
Tomek isn't the least bit embarrassed.
No, I have a feeling
Practice
that,
makes perfect.
look, we all did it when we were teenagers. I mean, I can tell you now. Can I tell you something really embarrassing? My mother once caught me.
Mr. Duncan.
My mother once caught me at the fun fair, and I was, let's just say I was really having a good time at the fun fair.
All by yourself.
All by myself. And my mother came in and she saw me.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, let's move on.
We
don't want to know that, Mr. Duncan. I can't believe you actually mentioned that.
Well, I haven't really said anything.
That's a subject for maybe another time.
Yes. But I was at the fun fair and my mum said, come on, are you getting up? And, well...
What's the answer, Mr. Duncan?
The answer.
Did Adi or Addy get it correct?
Come on, Matt. Hancock. Put her down. That's it. Can you just leave her alone for a second?
What do you do, Mr. Duncan?
I'm waiting for Matt Hancock to pop up.
Do people think that that's an attractive person?
I don't know.
Because that was our health secretary. He is no longer our health secretary. We have somebody even more attractive that's replaced him.
He's gorgeous. Savid Javid. Savid Javid is very sexy. That's all I can say about it.
Finally, I've got through this, says Sergio. The sentence game.
Finally, we've all
love it, really.
We've all got through it. We almost made it. Shall I give the answer? I haven't given the answer yet.
Go on.
I just realised I haven't shown the answer to the final sentence game. Bing! I didn't choose to be single, but fate decided it for me.
Well done to
Fate.
Addy.
Some people don't intend or choose to be alone or single, but fate decides it for them.
You see, a double D, if you see 2 Ds together in a word in English, you see, we would pronounce that Addy, is the way that we would pronounce it if we were following English rules to pronounce your name. But whether that's correct or not, I don't know. Please tell me.
Charlie Chaplin, very funny man, very brilliant, very creative. By the way, there are funny female comedians. I can think of quite a few. There's a woman in this country. Oh. There's a... What?
What did you say? How were you pronouncing?
Addy.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, so you interrupted me for that. There is a female comedian in this country called Jo Brand.
Yeah, she's funny.
And she's very overweight. And she always makes fun of her overweight appearance. So she always makes jokes about eating lots of cakes. And her pastime is eating cakes and sitting down and stuffing chocolate into her mouth. To be honest with you, that sounds like a good idea. I would like to put something in my mouth right now. Can you guess what it is?
Oh, a tea cake. A tea cake. Yeah, right, okay. Giuseppina, which must be a lovely Italian name, because I know somebody called Giuseppina from Italy.
You know somebody with that same name?
I do.
That's amazing.
A work colleague who works for the same company I work for, but in Italy.
Is that the girl we met in Paris?
It was.
Yes.
It was, and she invited us round. We've kept in touch ever since.
She's wild.
Very beautiful. So, just how you expect an Italian woman to be.
Yes.
Beautiful and sophisticated. That's how we imagine all Italian women.
You know the laughter at the end of that kind of.
But that's
spoilt the image.
Congratulations, Tomek. What's Tomek done to be congratulated?
What have you done, Tomek?
Vitas is congratulating Tomek for something. I've probably missed something in the live chat.
Maybe congratulations for having a good time at the fun fair. We will call it that from now on. So if any of us go to the fun fair, you know what it means, we know what it means, okay? So...
Oh!
What?
Hang on a minute.
What?
What? Oh, no.
What?
Tomek was first to get that right.
Oh.
That's... Oh, apologies.
But Vittoria was also...
Oh, Vittoria as well.
Was first.
Yes, it's only because I saw... right. My apologies. I'm not... Was it Care, Single and Fate? Were they the three? Was it Care, Single?
Choose.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, in that case.
Yes.
Vittoria was first.
Yes.
Apologies, Vittoria. You were first.
We gave the answer about 5 minutes ago.
I know, but I wasn't following the live chat as astutely as I normally do.
Yes.
Not that it's a competition.
No, it
right,
isn't.
what time is it? It's 4:10. We've overrun.
Once
We've
again.
got a free 10 minutes.
We always overrun.
So I'm going to, of course, go into the kitchen. In fact, we were going to cancel our order for tea cakes because we thought we'd gone off them a bit.
Okay, why is this important?
I'm just mentioning it because we always say we're going to have a cup of tea and a tea cake. But what are we going to have if we cancel the tea cake order from the local bakery?
Just have some chocolate.
Just a cup of tea. But anyway.
Maybe a nice bun, a brioche bun.
I'm sort of talking a bit to allow Mr. Duncan time to do a very professional fade away.
Yes.
After I say my goodbyes.
Shall I fade you now?
No, because I haven't said my goodbyes to my wonderful viewers.
No, you can. Sorry. I'm only joking, Steve. I'm joking. There
I'm still here. Okay. I know you're joking. Bye, everyone. Lovely to be here. Lovely to see you all.
You're saying goodbye to the neighbourhood.
It's just my norm. I can't help it if I've got a voice that projects Mr. Duncan from my many years on the stage. Bye-bye. See you all next week.
Oh, my goodness. There it is. Our suffering is over. We have finished today's live stream, and not before time. Thank you very much for your company. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. I have a feeling that many people are watching football today. I do. I think so. I think a lot of people are watching football at the moment. Are you watching football? Is there a football match taking place at the moment? I'm not sure, you see. I don't know, because I'm not watching the TV. Thank you very much for your company. I am back on Wednesday. See you on Wednesday for another English Addict. It will be English Addict Extra. And of course, don't forget, on Wednesday, it is the final day of June. July is just around the corner. So I will see you on Wednesday from 2 p.m. UK time. And of course, until the next time we meet here on YouTube, for all those watching now, for all those who are watching the recording, with captions. Don't forget, you can watch this again with captions. Thank you for viewing this. Thank you for sitting through this. Thank you for bearing Mr. Steve. I know sometimes he is a bit of a handful. And of course, until the next time we meet here on YouTube, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Ta-ta for now.